Well, I'm still recovering from the old COVID, so this is going to be another shorty. I know it generally sort of looks like my old format, except maybe if it was taken over by a castaway or something. But it's going to be something a little different, a little more personal. Now, hopefully, I'll really turn the corner, and next week, I'll be able to give you more of the well-researched, useful, and intriguing content that I really love making. And if you're not careful, you might learn something. But despite all of my challenges lately, vacations, off-site work, viral infection, I did manage to hit a bit of a milestone that I'm fairly excited about. That's 7 months of weekly videos without missing a single one. As of last week, I can say that I've posted a video every week since I launched on January 1. Now, granted, a couple of these last ones were kind of cheating, but still. When I set out to launch this channel, I told everyone who would listen that I was going to post every week, and that was met with more than a little skepticism at times. But 7 months in, I seem to be chugging along, so I'm really pleased with that. And thank you so much to all of you who have watched and even seemed to enjoy the channel. Your comments and encouragement mean so much to me. As a very new channel, it's really easy to have moments of discouragement, but I knew going into this that during this phase I was going to need to be really self-sufficient and keep my own energy and excitement as high as possible regardless of the numbers. Now, luckily, I have so much excitement about the topic that it makes it easier to do that, but the encouragement that I've received from you has made it a lot easier to keep going, so thanks. Really, thanks. But one of the questions that comes up for me in my down moments is a kind of an 800-pound gorilla in the room, or maybe better put, the 800-year-old gorilla in the room. I think a lot of people think of YouTube as a young people's space, and honestly, I really think that's an amazing thing for the world. For as long as YouTube has existed, one of its roles has been to give a voice to young people, and that serves an extremely important role in society, and it's of benefit to all of us. But I also think that it can be even better if we can broaden the age of creators and viewers. Yes, young people have fresh new perspectives that we would all do well to learn from. But if that's all YouTube is, then we're missing a huge opportunity to give the same voice to those of us with a little more life experience and wisdom. In a lot of really healthy societies, old and young people learn from each other. They listen to one another, and they gain tremendous benefit from one another. And as has well been established, those relationships are conspicuously missing in our culture, and that's sad for all of us. I think the world of food and eating suffers in particular. One of the pressing questions in the food space is, what does healthy eating even mean? And that's one question where we would all do well to listen to people with some miles on their chassis. Not to criticize anyone, but to me, when I hear a 22-year-old tell me that the diet they've been trying for 3 weeks is so great, I have to wonder how useful that is for people with a little more snow on the roof. Or, in my case, the snow always seems to land on the porch. But still, you get the idea. What works for a 20-something may not work for a 50-something, and frankly, 3 weeks on a fad diet is not exactly scientific research. When I was that age, I ate junk and I felt great. I regularly partied until sunrise and I had tons of energy. I took stupid chances with my life and I loved it. And actually, I wouldn't trade those years for anything. And I would encourage any young person to really engage with life. Do stupid things. Take chances. Embarrass yourself. Undermine your social life on multiple occasions. This is your time. But for me, I need to make wiser decisions now. If I live on fast food and frozen dinners, I'll feel like garbage, and it becomes a downward spiral. The more I eat garbage, the less energy I have to make quality food, so I cop out again and eat more garbage that makes me eat more garbage, that makes me eat more garbage and eating more garbage. It's just a garbage trap. Now, none of this is to say that young people are inherently wrong about food or that they can't have really useful ideas. It's just that I need a little less fad in my diet and a little more fact and experience. I have a similar perspective when people get obsessed with kind of guessing what early humans ate and trying to emulate that. I mean, for one, a lot of it is really speculative, and even more of it is widely misinterpreted. For example, not long ago, some archaeologists discovered a coprolite. Coprolite is a prehistoric turd, by the way. But upon scientific examination, it turned out that this person's diet consisted of 75% plant matter. That's a far cry from the conjecture you hear from some people that our ancestors ate mostly meat. I think they ate mostly the food that didn't run away. But more than that, the average lifespan of a human back then was a lot shorter than what it is today. I think a lot of those people were lucky to see 30 years on the outside. All that was really required of them to survive as a species was to live long enough to reproduce and teach your kids how to do the same. Well, maybe not directly, but you know what I'm saying. Anything after that was completely optional, but for me, I have loftier goals. I want to live longer and feel better. Their diet may have worked great for a teenage nomad, but who's to say that's what will serve you in middle age? I mean, that's kind of a wild guess at the end of the day, isn't it? Now, a lot of people might be thinking that I'm bashing paleo. I am not. If you look at the original paleo diet, it is not a carnivore diet. My issue is with the people who misinterpret paleo and weirdly extrapolate that it's just meat, meat, and meat with more meat and a side of meat. No, we are omnivores, and being omnivores gives us access to an incredible range of nutrients, which has made us the most adaptable large animal who ever lived on this planet. The fact that we occupy environs from the South Pole all the way to the Mojave Desert and beyond is not only remarkable, but it owes to the fact that we can eat just about anything. It doesn't mean we should. It just means that we can. Now, the truth is, nutrition science is still very much in its infancy. There's a lot that we don't know, and it's incredibly hard to do solid research. So, despite everything I just said, a certain amount of conjecture is not only inevitable, but it's probably also useful. There are a lot of things we do know, and all of us would do well to pay some attention to that. And there is some room for new ideas, and each of us is different. Not just our age, but our gender, our lifestyle, our ethnicity, our hormonal disposition, and even our emotional makeup can cause people to have different nutritional needs. Even the venue of our meal has an impact on how our bodies respond to different foods. For example, eating together affects us differently from eating alone. When we eat with other people, we find food more pleasurable. We allocate more cognitive resources to the stimuli of eating, resulting in better memories and behavioral learning. Even if we're not sharing the same actual food, it's the act of simply eating together that creates the response. Even eating silently with a stranger without talking at all trips all those synapses, and we get a lot of benefit. Food also tastes better when eating with others. More pragmatically, eating together provides opportunities for communication and social bonding and reduces feelings of loneliness. In one study, participants were shown pictures of people eating and asked to estimate the pleasure that people in the photos were experiencing. And I find this really interesting. Now, follow me here. Pictures of people eating healthy food together were estimated to be experiencing more pleasure than pictures of people eating the same food alone. But pictures of people eating unhealthy food were estimated to be experiencing the same degree of pleasure regardless of whether they were eating alone or with others. Now, if you haven't watched my episode on the joy factor, now would be a good time to go take a look at that. That is, of course, after you have watched and liked and subscribed from this video, of course. Eating results in 2 dopamine hits, one when we eat the food and a second when the food hits the stomach. And here's where I'll speculate a little. As you know, I have a strong suspicion that one of the best ways to know what works for you is to listen to your body when you eat. And I noticed something the other day. I was bonking. I had done too much that day with too little food, and my blood sugar was crashing to the point of shakes and sweat. And when I finally got some food, the minute I put it in my mouth, long before swallowing, I noticed an energy surge. It was as if my nervous system knew food was coming and sent messages to my mitochondria telling them it was safe to rev up now. Now, I don't have any research on this, but it's a fun idea. Now, next time you let yourself bonk, which I do not recommend, by the way, but the next time you accidentally crash your blood sugar, see if you notice the same thing, that your energy starts to recover and rev up when the food is in your mouth, but you haven't swallowed yet. I'll be interested in hearing about it, so if you have any stories for us, Please leave that in the comments and we'll all learn something together. I wonder if it's different for different people of different ages. Well, and just like YouTube is likely different for people of different ages. You like my segue there? Now, there's something similar I've noticed about cities and neighborhoods that makes a fair allegory. When they go into decline, the property values tank. So who moves in? Artists, creatives, people who mostly just want to work on their art and creative work and would prefer to not be chained to their career path. So those low rents look really attractive to someone who would rather paint than chase a fat paycheck. So then what happens to the place? Well, it becomes very hip because all the artists and creative energy, because creative people tend to build a very unique culture. And I should also mention that these places tend to attract a lot of immigrants too, who just want to build a new life for themselves. So they open up interesting restaurants where they make a tremendous contribution to the literal and figurative flavor of a place. It's actually amazing cultural alchemy, and I've seen it happen in a lot of places. But sadly, what happens next is, well, once a place gets hip, guess who wants to move in? Well, wealthy people, and not just wealthy people, but boring wealthy people who are seeking to live somewhere interesting because they themselves are a little boring. And instead of integrating with the true cultural heart of a place, they become fascinated with all the surface stuff, memorizing the inside jokes, name-dropping the cool eateries, going to all the cool places, and before long, those become the people who drive the culture of the place, the boring people who moved there because they thought they could make themselves interesting, and the place becomes just a cliche. It's like a cultural garbage trap. And I'm not going to name names, but I've seen it happen enough that it's fairly reliable. So if you want to be part of something cool, you'll do much better to go to the place that isn't cool yet. And be patient. Now again, without naming names, there's at least one city that's declined so much that it's now becoming a mecca for interesting restaurants, permaculture freaks, and cultural creatives. Now that place is going to get really interesting really soon. And so I think YouTube has a little of that same phenomenon. The types of content that are doing really well right now are starting to get a lot of copycats. And while some of the people who created the molds for those types of content had some interesting ideas at one time, through no fault of their own, they have accreted any number of imitations, which inevitably makes the original idea nothing more than a cliche, an unfortunate parody of itself. So here's the takeaway. Regardless of what you want, whether it's a creative expression, a place, or a food, look for the underdogs. They will be the most interesting as they develop and bloom. The places where all the cool people are already boring. By the time something is the thing to do or the place to be, it's already hit its apotheosis, and the best you can do is be there for the last vestiges of the golden era. And that can be kind of fun for sure, but the point is, don't write off those who explore new spaces. Well, like a 60-year-old creator on YouTube. And that's why it's actually not just okay, but actually really important that a wider age range get on this platform, not only as creators, but also as viewers. I hear more and more people saying that they wish there was more content on YouTube that is interesting for people over 30. So that's part of why I'm doing this. Because I have some life experience. I'm wise. I have so much to offer. I'm interesting, don't you see? I'm the next big thing, and you're getting in on the ground floor, and the people not watching this channel are just missing out. And someday they'll be the posers who wish they were here now. And if you're watching this now, you are special. One of the chosen ones. You'll be one of the cool kids who can say, oh yeah, I was watching that channel back in 24. And all the young people will look up to you in awe and hang on every word while they try to reverse engineer our coolness. But they'll never do it because we're the cool kids, us, and nobody can take that away from us. And for that reason, I just like to say it's time to wrap up this video. Thanks so much for watching. Ciao.